All right, picture this. You're trying to take the sheer, boundless complexity of planet Earth, shrink it all down, and lock it inside a sealed glass dome right in the middle of the Arizona desert. It sounds exactly like the plot of a high-stakes sci-fi blockbuster, right? But back in 1991, humanity actually tried to bottle an entire planet. This is the epic, absolutely wild, true story of Biosphere 2.
Okay, let's dive into this because the sheer scale and audacity of building a world from scratch is just mind-blowing. As one former biospherian perfectly put it, they had no operating manual. I mean, think about it. They were flying completely blind. And as it turns out, when you try to build a brand new world, you literally inherit all the problems of the old one. So, what does this all mean for the people inside? This was the ultimate test of ecology, engineering, and just raw human endurance. What actually happens when 8 human beings seal themselves inside a miniature Earth for 2 full years? Part 1. Trapped in a glass world. So, jump right into the timeline with me. It's September 1991. The heavy airlock doors seal shut behind you, and boom, you are completely cut off from the rest of the universe. And pretty quickly, that cinematic dream turns into a really grim reality. Oxygen levels are plummeting. The crew is utterly exhausted, spending a quarter of their waking hours just farming enough calories to survive. They are trapped under 3 acres of glass, literally watching the air they breathe disappear. Part 2. Designing Planet Earth 2.0. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the sheer engineering marvel required just to get them to that survival stage. They created what was essentially a bonsai world. We're talking a 700,000-gallon ocean, complete with a living coral reef and a vacuum-powered wave generator. And right next to that, a lush tropical rainforest with a 25-foot waterfall, a coastal fog desert, a savanna, mangrove wetlands, and an intensive agriculture zone. It's like a giant puzzle all packed under one roof. But, as you can imagine, playing God does not come cheap. This incredibly ambitious sci-fi vision required $150 million in private funding. To put that into perspective, they built a 7.2 million cubic foot megastructure and had to completely seal the bottom from the subterranean ground with a massive 500-ton welded stainless steel liner, all just to keep Biosphere 1, our Earth, out. Part 3. The human experiment under glass. While the plants and biomes were fighting for balance, the 8 humans inside were going through an intense physical and psychological metamorphosis. The seal-in began with incredible optimism in September 1991, but by November 1992, real starvation had set in. The crew was literally forced to crack into their backup ungrown seed stocks just to survive. The psychological pressure was so crushing, they actually had to hold homegrown group therapy sessions. Yet, when they finally emerged in September 1993, they had the body fat of pro athletes and a profound, visceral connection to their living world. Outside the glass, however, the media was ruthless. They totally mocked the crew, labeling the mission a pseudoscience stunt and a total failure because, well, they eventually had to pump in emergency oxygen. But the scientific reality? It was an astonishing triumph. It was the greatest experiment in ecological self-organization ever conducted. These starving but incredibly dedicated researchers achieved 80% food sufficiency in a closed loop and generated biogeochemical data the world had literally never seen before. So the crucial point is, why exactly did the biosphere choke? Well, it wasn't a failure of the concept itself. It was just incredibly deeply reactive. Microbes in the highly enriched organic soil went into absolute overdrive, producing CO2 way faster than the young plants could breathe it in. And that missing oxygen? It was being quietly absorbed by the unsealed concrete inside the habitat. Meanwhile, the plant pollinators perished, while invasive pest insects like tramp ants and cockroaches just thrived. It proved that in a closed system, every single action has a massive immediate consequence. Part 4. Resurrection as a meta-lab. After the humans left, this entire facility could have just been bulldozed. Instead, the University of Arizona stepped in and saved it by applying what's called the mesocosm paradigm. In normal science, you really only have 2 options: a tiny, highly controlled lab experiment or a massive, unpredictable open field study. Biosphere 2 is the ultimate scaling bridge between the two. It allows researchers to manipulate entire ecosystems in a massive, realistic setting that is still completely under their control. Let's move to and see how this builds. Part 5. Preparing for planetary futures. Today, Biosphere 2 has transformed from a closed human colony into a 21st century testbed for the future of our species. Enter terraformation science. Now, I know that sounds like pure science fiction, but it's the very real study of how life expands and sustains itself to transform bare, dead rock into complex, multifunction ecosystems. This is no longer just a movie plot. This is the exact science we're going to need to restore degraded landscapes on Earth or even engineer self-sustaining environments on other planets. To study this, they built the Landscape Evolution Observatory, or LEO. And guys, the mechanics of this are breathtaking. Step 1. They filled massive steel slopes with 1 million pounds of crushed volcanic basalt. Step 2. They simulate rain and monitor the whole thing with 1,800 sensors. Step 3. They track in real time as purely dead, abiotic mineral rock slowly evolves into life-sustaining soil. It's the world's largest interdisciplinary earth science experiment.
And they definitely haven't forgotten that original 1980s dream of space colonization. Today, the facility houses SAM, the space analog for the Moon and Mars. Inside this hermetically sealed, pressurized habitat, researchers are testing carbon scrubbers and next-generation astronaut life support. They're designing the exact systems we will need to survive in deep space, backed by rigorous university data.
But perhaps the absolutely most vital work happening under this glass is directly focused on saving Biosphere 1, the actual Earth you and I are standing on right now. They're using that massive ocean to test coral reef resilience against ocean acidification. They're tracking how tropical rainforests actually stop absorbing excess carbon once CO2 hits a certain high threshold. And they're pioneering agrivoltaics, which brilliantly maximizes solar energy and food production simultaneously without degrading the land. These glass domes are literally fighting climate change as we speak. And this brilliantly illustrates the ultimate lesson of this grand experiment, which really comes back to the humans who lived it. A former biospherian quoted Martin Luther King Jr. to describe their time under the glass, saying, "We may have come in separate ships, but we're all in the same boat now." Inside that dome, every single breath, every drop of water, every insect mattered. There was absolutely no way to throw your trash. Your health depended entirely on the health of your world. Biosphere 2 proved that a sealed ecosystem can work, but it demands deep cooperation, hyper-awareness, and just relentless adaptability. So as we face a rapidly changing climate on the outside, it leaves us with one final, incredibly profound question. Can we pass the species IQ test to save the planet we're already standing on?